Alright, so how would you like it if the government placed a tax on you if you didn't eat your vegetables? Well, my argument is in concordance with this one, meaning that what if the government made healthcare a mandatory thing in the United States? I'm in disagreement with this because for three reasons. One, because it is not contained within Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution. Two, because it is not within the first statements of the Constitution. And thirdly, because there are just a few attempts that are pretty cheap coming from lawyers in an attempt to pass this mandatory health care reform, which I think are pretty absurd. So first of all, for the Constitution's in Article 1, Section 8, in order for health care reform or any activity regarding health reform or anything of that nature, it must be within Article 1, Section 8, which it is not. So in order for this to be constitutional, it needs to be in there because the commerce between states, and all those clauses regarding what Congress can actually do are in there. So and nowhere in there does it say that it can enforce mandatory health care as proposed by Senator Baucus, which proposed a $1,500 tax to be placed on citizens that do not pay for health insurance or any other forms of health care. And secondly, in the first statements of the Constitution, it is said that all powers vested upon Congress, and it continues saying that powers vested to Congress shall be it states that powers vested onto Congress should be that all powers vested onto Congress shall be given to make laws that will be deemed proper and necessary in order for Congress to carry out the foregoing clause and all other powers vested upon it given to it by this Constitution. So basically it's telling you that healthcare is not in all this talk. So it's kind of saying that, so for those people who are for mandatory health care reform, it's basically saying that these people are saying that it's necessary and proper for health care reform to come by. But my argument is that, well, if we've come so far without having health care reform being a requirement, why should we begin now? I mean, it's just going to cause people to spend more of their income on rising health care costs, which shouldn't really be a requirement. And third of all, lawyers are trying to come up with little excuses like saying that mandatory health care is under presumption of constitutionality when it's never really stated in the Constitution. So I find that this argument is a rather weak one because there's no physical or words to support it in the Constitution. So thus, for three reasons, I find that the required health care of all American citizens is unconstitutional because it is not in Articles Section 8 of the Constitution, which permits people to be in tax and regulates commerce, it is not deemed necessary or proper, as stated in the first statements of the Constitution. And finally, the reasons given by lawyers find no support in the Constitution, and this is why I find it to be unconstitutional.